Change your mind, change your money, change your life. I am Coach Rob Lee Simmons, the host of this podcast, and let me be your tour guide to greatness. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If I was doing any better, I would be you. Welcome to the Greatness Academy podcast. Have an amazing guest on with me, Jesus Garay. He is a phenomenal CEO, business consultant. He is an outstanding philanthropist, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that he has going on. He's an Army veteran, and he is here with me extra early in the morning. How are you doing today, sir?
All right, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Oh man, it's a beautiful day, man. It's a beautiful day when you can wake up on this side of the dirt.
That's right.
Hey, so I just want to kind of get into the business. Let's tell the folks a little bit about yourself, what it is that you do, where you come from.
Yep, my name is Jesus Garay, retired U.S. Army combat vet. I did 20 years in the Army, retired in the 2015-ish range. That last year, you're kind of in and out. You don't know if you're retired or not. You're gonna get there. But I retired almost 10 years ago, born in the Bronx, New York. I moved to Jacksonville, Florida when I was 6. Ended up becoming a phenomenal athlete. I'm not just saying it. I actually was. Everybody who knows my story knows that. But I was also kind of a hard hit. So I was getting a lot of trouble. I had a lot of scholarship opportunities in 2 sports, and it kind of ruined it. I ruined it. And then ended up going to JUCO, was messing around with the ball thing. I couldn't let the ball thing go, and the ball thing let me go. And I needed that. And so I was kind of like, I got to get out of here, man. I joined the Army. I joined the Army, got stationed in Korea. My very first duty station was Korea, and that was probably the best thing for me. Get me away. Just go learn another culture, learn the language, and just figure it out. And I stayed in, man. Cut to the chase. I was in Hawaii doing light fighter training on 9/11. We had just bedded down at 2 a.m. You know, Hawaii's like 5 hours behind.
Yeah.
We had just bedded down like 2 a.m. and we got woken up when the first plane hit the tower. And they brought the leaders to the head shed. And as we were in the head shed, the second plane hit the tower. And I remember telling my first one, this is actually a famous story to people that know me. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going first. And 47 days later, I was one of the first ones to get ready to deploy in support of the nation. It was so early, Afghanistan wasn't even ready yet. People don't even know that part of the story.
Wow.
We didn't have a land. Yeah. So we ended up changing mission every day. We were getting delayed, changing mission every day. We ended up going to Bosnia because it was spreading all throughout the world.
Right.
And so we ended up going to Bosnia, on point, kicking in doors. And then from there, I just kind of lost a decade over there. In the meantime, I ended up buying like a house. I had a couple of deployments already. So we kept hearing, you got to think back that time, 2005, 2006, that the war was winding down. That's what the word they kept saying, even though those patch charts kept coming out.
Yeah.
And I bought a house with a VA loan, and I literally redeployed, bought a house, but came out on orders. And I was like, man, I'm not a real estate investor. I'm not nothing yet. I'm just kind of a homeowner. And I really didn't want to keep that house while I deployed because I didn't know what to do with it. And so I just put some lipstick on it and I sold it and made 30 grand. I barely had that house anytime. And I was like, what the hell is this? So I took, I ordered, those trunks we take to Iraq?
Yeah.
I dumped a bunch of books in there and I took them with me and I consumed everything that was on the internet. You got to think, this is 0506. All these real estate gurus, there were nowhere to be found. There was like a couple of dudes that you can get some information from. But I sucked up as much as I can. I came back and I went crazy because at that point I did have a little bit of a break. I went crazy. Wasn't really making any money. I just understood, now by this time it's 06 bleeding into 08. So there was like a bubble, and I'm buying houses, and I had a general contractor, and we're flipping them. I'm doing okay. I'm making a couple grand. I might just break even. And he's making 20, 30, 40 grand every time. And I'm like, I don't like this dynamic. I'm actually not sure. There's money in real estate. And so I ended up becoming an understudy of him. So I would pay him to remodel my houses, and I would work for him for free. Yeah. And I had learned the game. I'm gonna do a video with him at some point too. I ended up becoming a general contractor. He folded his company, came work for me. And so I deployed, I got stationed in Hawaii, deployed again. I came back. So I had the same relationship with him for a few years. Got back to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and he ended up coming to work for me. And I ended up getting my first government contract, remodeling and building Army housing while I was still in the Army right there at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. My last 2 years I did on the training side. I was an operations sergeant major on the training side. And the Army launched an investigation on me. It was crazy, man. Because I don't know if you're familiar with Fort Sill.
Yeah.
But I was doing dumb. Are you?
I am.
Okay. Well, I was doing dumb stuff too. I bought a house over in Grayson Mountain. At the time, there was no soldier that lived over there. I had a little mansion over there. I got brand new boats and motorcycles, and them just live. You grow up kind of poor. That first wave of money kind of
Yeah.
runs through you, right? And you just don't know how to handle it. I'm just being 100% honest. Why I mentor so many young business owners now. But I lived in Grayson Mountain. There's no soldier who ever lived over there. At the time, I had a top secret clearance. So they launched an investigation. We're like, what in the hell is this guy doing? Before you know it, I had 26 guys full-time on base. We were rocking and rolling, multi-million-dollar government contract. And I'm still in the Army. I got so busy, I didn't even go to my own retirement ceremony. And I regret that.
Yeah.
Because the retirement ceremony isn't just for you, it's for your family too. It's for everybody to say bye. And I was so busy, I just was kind of almost ready like to be done with the Army, especially I'm one of the golden boys and you launched the investigation on me. And I felt some kind of way because I was immature. And I'm telling you the story the way it is now. I bought a house, I bought a mansion. My next door neighbor's house was 11,000 square foot. Army people don't do that kind of stuff.
Right.
I should have known better. And they did what they had to do all these years later. But you know how you leave the Army, you divorce the Army. You don't really you're just ready to go. You don't really leave on good terms, so anyway, just kept rocking and rolling. Had a roofing company, a construction company. I was flipping houses. When I retired, I had 41 houses right there in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and was flipping a bunch of houses. And I sold everything. What happened was the winter of 2016. So I retired in 15. That next winter, we're rocking and rolling. I'm full speed. I'm wide open, and the winter just kept going. It just kept going. And I remember watching. I'm a big time golfer. And I'm looking on Facebook and I'm looking at it's like late April, May. I think it snowed again. I was like, oh, hell no. bro, I'm going to tell you straight up. I'm a decision maker. When I make my mind on something, if you are around me, you might as well get on board because you know I'm about to do it.
Yeah.
I was struggling because I had it so good there. I was struggling with this whole I got it good here, but I need to go to where it's sunny. We had lived in Hawaii. I'm from Florida. And my wife, this is what my wife said. And I was going to go to Hawaii. I had 2 houses in Hawaii at the time, 2 foreclosures. My wife was like, look, if you're struggling between Florida and Hawaii, Florida is where you grew up at. Go give them kids a chance. Because at the time, I'm mentoring kids. I'm coaching Little League there. I got a bunch of young men that I'm dealing with. She's like, go back to Florida and give those kids everything you got. We can always go to Hawaii. As soon as she co-signed it, boom. I started selling everything, literally like fire sale. There's another guy I got that's there right now. Carl just won Carl is now a multi-million-dollar real estate investor with almost 30 homes there. And he was just a mechanic on post when I met him. I sold him like 4 or 5. I was just giving away. Sold like 4 or 5 of my houses. I was giving everything away. And we came back to home to Jacksonville. And I had this dream that I started to percolate on a little bit for trucking. Just because of the government contract and being overseas. And I saw everything we did. When you're overseas, you really understand how the public-private partnership between the military and all these civilian companies. We don't do anything without all these civilian contractors, man. We couldn't do half of that stuff. I'm traveling all over the world and I'm running operations all over the world. Part of what I'm doing is I'm dealing with all these civilian contractors to kind of set up home base, whether it's Torch Party, Advanced Party. And I'm realizing that the Army can't do anything without civilian contractors. And a big part of it was trucking. I ran those clips, combat logistics patrols. Yeah. Even though I was combat arms guy, we had to retrain and repurpose to run those combat patrols. And all those trucks, flatbeds, reefers, dry vans, the same stuff. So I had a propensity for tracking mechanisms. And I thought it was a very dumb thought, but I thought, I could do this. Yeah, I could run a trucking company. So anyway, I put myself through, I retired, I come back home to Jacksonville, I put myself through truck driving school, got a CDL. I got hired by this company in Atlanta. I go there and it went like their orientation. I wanted to see what right looked like from the inside. And so I was there for like a week. And you're supposed to graduate and give you a truck. I was like, all right, chunks of the deuces. And I drove back home and I bought a truck. And within the first year, I had 9 trucks and I almost went belly up. Yes, I took $1 million. So when I sold all them houses in Oklahoma and all my assets, I took $1 million of my own money and I started my trucking company. And within the first year, I had 9 trucks. So we did like 2.3 million in the first year. Yeah. And that first year, I'm gonna tell you what, I spent almost $500,000 in insurance. Like I almost lost it all. Because I really didn't know what I was doing. I had what I thought were really good tracking mechanisms. I didn't understand the market. And so I had to bury myself. I put myself against the wall. I had to bury myself in the work. I became a different person. I gained weight. Like I was just, went crazy. But I just knew it couldn't not work. Right. I didn't really have a path. I'm going to be 100% honest. And I now teach better. I teach on young entrepreneurs. I give them a better head start than I had because everybody's not going to be crazy. I had a wherewithal to withstand what I withstood. I'm going to attribute a lot of that to my military training, bro. When you go into some dark places when you're deployed and you're kicking in doors on point for the nation and shit, people getting killed all around you, you go to some dark places, but you also become extremely resilient.
Right.
Barring that, I also grew up kind of rough and all that, but barring that, the sum of the experiences that I had, I would have quit. I would have quit trucking in the first year. And many people do. This is a very volatile industry. And it didn't make any money. In fact, I didn't actually make any money for 2.5 years in my trucking company, but it was growing. And so I wasn't really as concerned. I just was going to have to tighten my belt and get through it. And before you know it, I ended up becoming recognized all over. Because what the universe is waiting for, what American civilian society is waiting for, is veteran entrepreneurs. We have plenty of veterans that transition and go work good jobs, and that's cool too. But what I try to tell a lot of veterans is like, look, you got all the skills. You need some market information, but you got all the skills necessary. In fact, we actually have an advantage relative to how they groom leaders out here in the civilian world. The military, we got that next man up mentality. We do a tremendous amount for grooming leaders. We have things at every level that help you absorb bigger and bigger jobs, more people, more responsibility. And a lot of times in the civilian sector, I'm telling you, I've been out here 10 years, they don't have that. A lot of these leaders are set up to fail. And so they don't have the proper communication skills. They don't understand people management. Anyway, I ended up blowing that up, becoming the small business leader of the year. And that brought everybody to me. I'm meeting congressmen and senators. I'm going to the White House. I'm doing that's when I kind of kicked off the political. I call business drives politics, drives business. It's a yin and a yang. If you're in business, you're in politics. And it also brought Big Army G3 to me. I helped Army with the TAP program. I helped them revamp it. I helped it with a couple of pieces of legislation. One, so y'all got the new program. What do you call it? The program where you go work intern, that paid internship.
Yeah.
The very first one, the very first one was done in my office by a CW4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at my office. He's actually a friend of mine. And he heard about it while he was in. He hit me up, and I helped the Army figure it out. But I had to do like this memo to his commander and all this kind of stuff. We figured it out. So anyway, that, and also I had to go to truck driving school at like 40 or 41, whatever. And I went to truck driving school as if I'd never had a license before. They treat you like, and I'm in there with 20-year-olds. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird because I got my, what is it, 348? What's that Army license called? 638?
Yeah, 638.
Whatever.
No, not 638. It's
348, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I got a dozen, 15, 16 like pieces of stuff on here, right?
Yeah. LMTV.
So as I went through truck driving school and got my CDL, and I was like, well, this is part of the reason why a lot of veterans are going to struggle, because you don't get to work while you go to truck driving school. I had to pay for that, and then I'm there all day, and that's a month. And so I was talking to Big Army, and I helped them revamp. In fact, I was the one that submitted the paperwork. And now FMCSA changed the requirements for transitioning veterans. If you got certain kind of vehicles on there, you get waivers for a lot of that stuff. So you just got to do like one portion of it. You got to do the safety portion, and then you like take some tests, and then you got a CDL. So it might take you a week, if that. Y'all film, and then this was like 4 or 5 years ago when I did that. But I helped get that changed. I helped get the transition assistance program changed, and I'm always trying to help the Army figure out, because what they're going to do, they always want to duplicate what I did. And I was like, well, you don't need to do that. You don't need to go that far, but you at least need to provide people a softer place to land after dedicating 4, 8, 10, 12, 20 years of their life. They're subject matter experts. And then when they come out here, we're kind of looked at as broken, right? It's like something to fix. And everybody wants to pat us on the head. Like, you crazy as hell.
Right.
In fact, upon transitioning, we're among the most qualified out here. There's some things we're missing. I really try to get military folks to start understanding the market. The market is different because the Army is a big nonprofit organization. I'm going to show you why. I don't care what level you're at. Every September 1st, you get a brand new check. You get like a big pile of money. And then you, on the fiscal year, right? And you got to spend that money. Oh, I'm sorry, October 1st, because September 31st is the last day. So our fiscal year, they just give you a big pile of money, and then you spend it throughout the year. And if you need more money, you run out of money, you do this exception policy, and all of a sudden money shows up. That's so... It's such bullshit. That's not a real world. It's just not a real world.
Right.
Where did the fucking money come from? Can I cuss here? Sorry, bro.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Where did the money come from? And that's why we got that nonprofit mentality when we come out of here. And I'm like, no. You got to dial that back. Where did that first pile of money come from? Because that's where the real gold is. You have great execution matrix and skills in terms of leadership and management. As an entrepreneur, you actually grow money. You take nothing, you turn it into something. And that's the part a lot of military folks are missing, just because we don't get access to that.
So let's talk a little bit about like some of these challenges throughout this transition, right? So I know you started a little bit earlier and you're able to kind of get into the market, but for folks who kind of know what it is that they want to do, but they don't yet have a grasp on it, what are some of the like intangible skills that they probably are going to want to have as they start to transition out of the service?
Yeah, that's a great question. First and foremost, I call them digital mentors. You need to find some people like you or in the industries that you're interested in, and you need to start consuming all their content. A lot of times that's free. And then if you want to take it to the next level, contact that person and invest in them. When you invest in people and their family, I'm telling you, the way the world works, they invest in you. But when you just want to hit people up and you always want to talk to them and just suck all the knowledge up for free and you don't want to offer them anything, well, exactly what loyalty does that person have to you and your family? I've been through hell building 3 multi-million-dollar businesses. It behooves you. I don't want you to hire me. I want you to hire someone like me. Because what happens with military folks is we become a little too trusting. I'm not anti-government, but we become a little too trusting when it comes to like SBA and all this government mess in business. And they don't, I'm telling you, I'm not being mean. They're good people. They don't know nothing. Yeah. They do not know nothing. Even at the university, I teach at universities because they know it's okay. I'll tell you why university systems, why it's good brain exercise. It's terrible information. It takes about 3 years to get information into a curriculum in a school. Yeah. Do you know how long 3 years is in business?
Yeah.
It's 3 years ago, we were coming out of COVID. Do you know how much the world has changed? And so they're teaching stuff that we learned during COVID right now in universities because it takes that long to get stuff passed through a curriculum. That's why school's always going to be behind. And I go and I teach them. I'm giving them real-term data on what's going on right now and how you need to negotiate and navigate these treacherous waters out here because it ain't no joke out here. There's no safety nets. And so one, find you a digital mentor. 2, when I started as an entrepreneur, this term didn't even exist, side hustles. I love that shit. And I'm going to tell you why. Most people don't even know how to be in a meeting. Like, that's one thing we have as a leg up on everybody is that we structure meetings and projects and operations better than anyone else. But then that's from a nonprofit standpoint. I'm talking about from a for-profit standpoint. So any side hustle you belong to, any just little thing, and everybody always say, oh, this is a scam, that's a scam. Just try it. You don't know nothing. Just go try it. It ain't asking a lot. Maybe it's $50, maybe it's $150, $200. You need to be through osmosis. You need to absorb all these people that's out here in the market. You need to start getting around those kind of people. And there's always going to be some type of tuition. You're paying these colleges for outdated information. If your tuition is $200, $300, $500, $1,000, whatever it is, that's your tuition to gain access to the market. So 1, consuming content with your digital mentors, but 2, get in some kind of network. People, like, I don't do this, but people are distrusting and don't like, what do they call it? Network marketing. Bro, go over there and go to some meetings. Go meet some people and get around your tribe. Those people are trying too. Right? Those people are trying to. And then it takes you a while to realize, okay, well, there is some life here, but there's an end to it and you can't really build any wealth. And the reason why I say that is because when you join these organizations, and if the person who made it has to fly in to your city from Charlotte, North Carolina, okay, where's the person? Why I got one person? You got to fly him all over the country. Why can't somebody here make it? I want to know. But like in your city, you got people that's doing exactly what you want to do and they've crushed it out here. You need to gain access to those kind of people because it speeds up the clock. I don't want you to go through what I went through for a decade, but having 9 trucks, having $3 million years, $5 million years, $10 million years, back to $2 million a year. You shouldn't have to do that. You should not have to do that. It's in particular when you have access to people with all the relevant information. So don't worry about me. You want to follow me? That's fine. Find someone in your industry that's doing what you're doing, and you just start consuming all their content.
No, that's really good. So some people say that success is challenging. Some people say success is hard. What would you say success is? How do you get there?
So what I do is I have to, without telling people, I try to kind of like back into what success looks like for them. Because I think when people saw me, I had a yacht. That was stupid. I paid $150,000 for it. That was dumb, bro. I'm gonna tell you that was dumb. Don't do that. Just don't do that, man. I did it so what Jay said. I did it so you wouldn't have to. Don't do that. You ain't gotta do that.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta do that. I'm telling you, I was eating with my eyes. Now it was fun as hell that first summer. $150,000 yacht. Upstairs, downstairs, I got $10,000 surround sound. We going to the Jaguar games. We're watching the game. We got 2 TVs on the boat. We're barbecuing on the boat. We're watching the game from the river right outside the game. The game right there, we see the big Jumbotron. It's fun, right?
Yeah.
And that whole summer, we're boogie boarding, and I kept like, man, this is what I came home for, right? And then the next summer, we probably used it 4 or 5 times. My kids like, oh, it's hot. That third summer, by year 4, I sold that boat. We ain't touched it for 2 years. And the boats, this is what I didn't know. It was my first boat. The boats are designed to be exercised because if you're not, they start breaking down. The old rings start popping. And that was a massive headache. Just don't do it. You want to have a boat? Go rent a boat. Get your ass off the boat and go back to your regular life. You ain't got to buy no boat, right? Just because you get money like that. You ain't got to do it. I made all the mistakes.
Yeah.
Success is hard. Here's what I do for people. We have to find out what success looks like for you. because, and people that know me, I've had like extremely large houses and little big mansions and stuff. And I'm actually about to build a container home compound for myself because I'm reevaluating how I'm living myself. But I got a friend who was really crushing it prior to in the financial industry prior to COVID. He got wiped out during COVID. He started a landscape company. He's got a double wide out about 4 or 5 miles from where I live. He's got a little pond, like 5 acres, a little pond. His dog and his hunting. He got a 2-wheel drive truck, and he's rich because what he did was he eliminated a lot of waste, right? And he's happy. So he understood what his number was, and he defined what success looked like for him. He didn't allow Instagram to do it for him, and he's actually happy. So that means he's rich. So the first thing I do is I take you through my story. I take you through someone like his story and show you how, look, I'm not saying money doesn't contribute to happiness. Money's not going to make you happy. Right. Once me and my wife started getting access to these rich people, I'm telling you, man, we were shocked at how much they were going through too, and how unhappy these people are. And it was like, wow, it can't be about the money. It got to be about the journey. So it's why every single, this is the last of the 3, what I call hard quests. I got an 8 to 10 year run in this, and I'm going to turn it over to the kids, meaning all the youth, not my kids, but my kids can be included. But it's about the journey, right? It's about the creation of the thing. Because once you cash out, once you liquidate, once you have that liquid, they call it the liquidation event and cash out, then what are you going to do? And I'm going to tell you that's where depression and lack of purpose and all that stuff sinks in, which is also the main thing people in the military lack when they transition. You better try to find something before you leave that you can sink your teeth into with some purpose. It ain't just about the money. We argue and squabble a lot in the Army. People think the Army is like, we get into it. It's kind of, we're not frictionless, right? It's a tough thing. It's the 96 bulls, every unit you go to. Right. But there's like this invisible hand that kind of guides all. It is a purpose. We're going somewhere. We're going to a thing. It's either our next training event, our upcoming deployment, is that we're always, so even though we have our little spats and our little competitive juices and we got to put out fires here, the entire unit has this invisible hand that guides it going places. That doesn't exist out here. Only the best of the best leaders know how to do that. And so you're going to transition to something for the money. Most of the veterans that I get to come in contact with, because everybody reaches out to me in my city, but in the first 2 years, they have like 4 or 5 jobs. They're miserable everywhere they go. Yeah. And so before you transition, you better try to find out what's going to give you some purpose. The money can be a part of it. Maybe you need to downsize your lifestyle initially, but you better try to find some purpose. Otherwise, you'll be miserable out here because this is what's going on in America. We don't have purpose-driven lives. We're just out here, man. We're just out here making money, and we don't give a shit about nobody else.
Yeah, that makes it tough. And so let's kind of go back, and you talked about the tiny home compound. I know we have some few conversations about driving veterans towards understanding housing and the situation in America. Tell me a little bit about your purpose in that.
So I've been screaming about it on my personal pages for forever, for a decade. And then sometimes I feel like I'm on the bow of the Titanic and I'm yelling iceberg. Yeah. And I'm looking back and they're like, what's wrong with that boy? What's wrong with him? Why is he crazy? I'm in the market, right? And so market intelligence, this is my coined saying, market intelligence leads to market intuition. The deeper and the farther you are into the market, I'm market driven. I'm in the market and I'm into the market details on a daily basis. When I get up at 4 a.m, the first thing that cuts on is Bloomberg. I receive my international and national news through Bloomberg because it's market driven. And then most of the stuff I consume is market driven. So market intelligence leads to market intuition. I can predict cycles. What's going on right now? I've been predicting for 5 or 6 years. In fact, while you're saying this, if you want to put some B-roll inside this, I'm actually going to send you some Facebook posts of mine that shows you the date from 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago about what happened with this last bubble. Because what did I tell you earlier? I started during the last bubble. Right. And I was telling people, don't buy houses. Y'all buying houses right now because the interest rate's low and they're improperly inflating these houses, and then you're going to get stuck with them. Well, now look where we're at. When I bought my first house, I think it was $100,000. The median home price in America right now is $454,000. And at 6, 7, 8% rates, it's basically right now we're paying the largest amount of our disposable income in recorded history. So you're paying for a smaller house. You're paying the most amount of the money you receive. You don't have anything left. You can't build any wealth. You're definitely not going to have any equity in that house. It's contributing to our overall unhappiness. Meanwhile, and you can attest to this, Ariel, I was stationed in Hawaii twice. I lived all over the world. Having these big ass houses and big ass cars, this is an American thing. For sure. Most places you go in the world, they have smaller indoor spaces. But what do? They pay a lot of attention to their outdoor space.
Absolutely.
Of the 50 states that we have here in America, and I've probably been to 25 or 30 of them, but I lived in Hawaii twice. I would say by far, and it's not even close, Hawaiians are the happiest people in America.
Yeah.
But when you look at their houses, they're extremely small. But if you look at the average backyard in Hawaii, what is it? Waterfall, plants, barbecue. They eat all their meals outside. Like we used to, one of the foreclosures we bought was on a golf course 3 minutes from the beach. I would say out of a year, we ate at the beach 200 days. Like we had this little thing, we pack it up, we go to the beach, we're in 2 minutes, and we would eat all of our meals outside. What are you doing? You're outside, you're breathing fresh air, you're getting sunlight, which is giving you what? Vitamin D, which is contributing to your overall serotonin. Right now, we're inside on computers in dark rooms, complaining about the algorithm.
Right.
That's not a way. You can't.
Right.
You can't do it. Right? And I'm trying to have us, hey, you need to have a cultural reset. You need to, in the Army, we spend a lot of time outside. And then you go from an outside existence to this inside of existence when you're sedentary. So we're trying to say, hey, look, let's just initially dial back some of the indoor living space, but between indoor and outdoor living space, you can still have your 3,000 square foot, right? But let's say you start with one container home, which is what I love about the container homes, because they can grow with your family. They can grow with your family. You can get one container home, and maybe it's just you. Then you get a fiance or you got a wife. You can get 2 container homes. You get 4. You can start building them. You can add them to the top. This thing is like Legos. You can continue to go with it. And what we're going to be doing is teaching people how to buy lots. You buy lots for $3,000, $5,000, $10,000. How to get electricity or your utilities on those lots. That's another $8,000 to $10,000. We'll finance all that. So now you're going to this house and it's $400,000. Somebody's already got that lot. Somebody has already put the utilities on a lot, which are very simple tasks. People do this every day. You just don't know about it. You don't know how to do it. We're going to educate people on how to do that. And you cash them out for $500,000. You cash them out. And now you're stuck with their note. Well, why don't you just dial that down? We're going to save. You're going to be able to save even at the beautiful custom. And I'll give you a couple pictures to put in here. You probably, for your highest, most expensive ones that come with 4 or 5 of these put together and they're all customized, you're talking about $250. Oh, wow. Right. So even if you start out at the highest, which is I'm actually going to build a compound, I'm probably going to spend $300,000 on my tiny home compound. You can't buy a shitty box of a concrete block house right now for $300,000. You can't do it. And even if you do, you're stuck in somebody's neighborhood. I'm looking at a 10-acre lot right now. This lot actually has a gun range on it, right? And build a container home complex. And I want to lead from the front and show people, look, man, this has kind of got to be the way forward, because you're going to be able to cut your housing costs 50 to 90%. So one, you can take the job that you want to do when you transition from the military, because you're going to be able to, even if you have an offset in your income, you're going to offset your housing costs. Right. If you come out here and pay these housing costs, you got to take the job that you don't want to do. And next thing you know, you're going to have 4 of them in the first year. So for people that's already transitioned now, the second part of it is that we have I'm on a lot of boards around town. I do a lot, and we have a tremendous amount of veterans that are homeless, bro. Like this is unbelievable. So one of the projects I'm actually submitting to the city right now, they contacted me because they know I'm in this space and I'm drawn up. I have a whole thing being drawn up. We're going to do 48 pod homes. Well, it's actually 24, but they're 2 per. And because the state of Florida has given us a mandate, every city, you have to insert yourself and solve this homeless problem. I like that. This is the problem. I've been doing this for years. Politics is downstream from culture. The people should fix problems and bring our politicians along. We shouldn't get a mandate from the state to solve homeless people. And when they live right here with us. Right. They live right here with us. And we have to get a mandate from the state in order to do something. This is what I mean by a military veterans having a leg up, because, and I'm not bashing my civilian brothers, but I'm going to tell you, a lot of it's their fault, because we've been out on point kicking indoors, providing the safety for them to run this economy and this culture that we have for the last 20, 30 years. And now look what we got. So I'm saying re-enter society and insert yourself, because you're purpose driven. The current leaders, this is the first generation, and I'm very purposeful and intent about saying this. As we grew up, everybody we knew either served in Nam, your granddad served in World War II, right? Every leadership class, every generation had a leadership class that served. We're in the first right now. We're in the first generation of leaders that didn't serve. I can't find, when I'm out. The business world is my world. These are my friends. I'm not saying they're bad people. This is the first generation of leaders that didn't serve. And you can see it in their behavior patterns, right? And so I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm saying they don't understand what it is to be in a foxhole, possibly with somebody that doesn't look, act, and sound like them in a meaningful capacity, right? And so, and the second thing they don't have in the military, this is the best thing about the military. They change their reward system, whether you know it or not. The reward system out here is money. The reward system in the military, even on your own write-ups, NCOERs and OERs, they don't give a fuck about you. What did your kids do? What was the average? What was the PT average of your unit?
Yeah.
Fuck you. I don't give a fuck about you. And so what happens is that you get promoted based on how good your kids do. So
Right.
you always pour into your kids and you're growing. And that's how the military changed our reward system. But when I got out here, I'm not saying they don't care. That's not how they were groomed. They were groomed to make money and be personally competent. Well, being personally competent is a leadership trait that people will naturally follow you. Otherwise, you got to throw the book at them. But our primary job is to look after our kids. And I call that next man up drill. And out here in civilian society, we don't have it, and you can see. Otherwise, we wouldn't put our kids what we're putting them through with this housing insecurity right now.
Yeah. No, that's a big deal. Looking at knowing that the problem exists, like what would be the way forward for the future? How do we spread awareness to, because that's another one of my fights. My biggest fight is homeless veterans. And so I work down at shelters, we feed them, we try to get them into transitional housing. But how do we solve the bigger problem of getting veterans off the streets and into homes?
So you said the key word, awareness. And one of the things is, and a lot of people, this tiny home revolution is getting known to more people. You got to know me to know 15 years ago, I was doing the same exact thing, buying shotgun homes and putting poor people in shotgun homes, people that were getting kicked out of trailer parks. And I would put them in a shotgun home. We would fix their credit and they would buy it from me. That's a very good business model. And you're doing an amazing thing. So I can count on two hands the amount of $250,000 houses I flipped. I've flipped hundreds of $25,000 and $30,000 houses. And those come with a margin of about 40 to 50 grand each. So each one of those shotgun homes I bought, because I was a general contractor and we did our own work, I would make like 50 grand on each one of them. But this person would go from not having any good credit, not even knowing what a net worth is. I would get them in one shotgun home. They would their house note. They would be able to refi because we'd fix their credit. They'd be able to refi, cash me out, and they'd have a home with 50 grand equity in it. Equity was the first time they heard that word. So now they got a net worth. Equity is a tangible asset according to the bank. You can borrow against it. You can just cash it out, right? And many of them sold their houses for the first time they had 50 grand. Imagine within 2 years, you got a 450 credit, you get kicked out of the trailer park, and now you got 50 grand in your hand. Now it's up to you to do what you want to do with it. My job is to put you in position.
Right.
So that's one, awareness, and then actually creating upward mobility for all these veterans. But two, we got to get people to buy in. Let me tell you why. Almost 47% is what we can count of all the single family homes are bought by private equity. This is what it's a fund. This is what a fund is. Right now, most people, I don't know, maybe you could, maybe you can't. If you're not a qualified investor, you can't even participate. I don't care if you got 100 grand. You can't even participate in private equity. A qualified investor means you got to make combined 300 grand a year, $1 million in liquid assets. There's a certain threshold you got to be. So the average Joe is not going to qualify for that.
Right.
But if we can find someone who's actually a demonstrated professional, the problem I have with a lot of military is we come out and we have these lofty goals with no execution matrix. So let's say me, I'm a general contractor. I had government contracts. I built hundreds of homes. I flipped homes. I used to buy burnouts. I actually know how to run crews. I know every phase of construction. And then I'm not saying what your skill set is, but let's just say there's you. And then me and you are both in the same room saying we're going to build tiny homes. Well, what's the likelihood that a person who's never done it is actually going to do it? But the problem we're having in the military community is that we won't get behind somebody who's actually spent their time and hard-earned money and every waking moment actually building the skill set necessary. We will almost see that person as competition. This is where that competitive stuff bleeds and it actually gets in our way. Well, in the civilian sector, that fund I told you about, those private equity guys, there's a number one guy, number two guy, number three guy, number four guy, number five guy. They go out to their millionaire friends and raise 25 million and they go dominate your community. This is why you can't find no houses, because they sucked half the houses of all cities in America. They bought half the houses. Natural order of supply and demand kicked in. So we are all now fighting for less houses. What is that going to do to the housing price? It's going to push it up. We're just now starting to see a correction in this housing price. So I would say, one, click on my page, Spartan360.org. We have a raffle that we're giving away up to 25 tiny homes. Right now, I'm giving the first two away like in this month. We're going to give away up to 25 tiny homes. So we're going to show people all the phases. Hey, this is how you pull the permit. This is how, for these pod homes, they do require like a different foundation. This is the foundation for a pod home. This is how we're going to anchor it. This is how we're going to, for the pod homes, you don't need this. But like for the container homes, even though the outside paint is like marine grade and it reflects electricity. But people's number one question is, what about getting electrocuted? Like, you can get electrocuted in your house. You worry about the container home, you can get electrocuted in your house. But we do like what they call a lightning rod. So we're going to show them all of that. So one, it's an education piece to it, but also we have funding. We're going to finance your project. We can finance your project on the current lot that you own. A lot of people we passed a bill. I'm going to show you how I was a part of this bill that got passed. We passed a bill that allows you to put like garage apartments or pod homes or tiny homes in your backyard. It was called the Keeping Families Together Act. It was kind of crazy that it did that. But after city councilman consulted with me and I taught them what the positive effects were. This is like 3 or 4 years ago. The positive effects of us doing this were going to be on the society. And I showed them all the pros and cons. And we passed that bill in one area. Now it's blowing up throughout the whole state and the whole country. But the misnomer or the misnomer for a lot of people is, well, there's a lot of legislation that said you can't do that. And they heard something 2 or 3 years ago because the builder, what this is going to do is take the power out of the builders and developers' hands and put the power back into the people's hands, because there's a way around all this legislation and everybody can do it almost in every state right now. In some states, it's taken off. You go to Maine and Rhode Island, there are hundreds of thousands of these being put up there because they saw the advantages of doing it early. And so, yeah, veterans coming out, supporting the initiative. We're going to be teaching you how to do that. We're going to be building them for you, shipping them to you. We're going to be contracting with people who are inside the program that want to start a trucking company and help us ship these all over the country. We'll teach you the permit process, and we're going to finance the whole thing for you too. Right now, I don't want to say this out loud because it may change, but right now we got 2.5% financing. I'm trying to get it to 0. Yeah, I know. You can't. I know. People really don't understand what interest rates are. It's actually an excuse to rob you. But for some banks, I'm just being honest, because a lot of that money's already been hoarded. So they already have, they're sitting on 500 million. But when the interest rate goes up, that's what it costs them to borrow.
Yeah.
So your interest rate, so if it's costing them 4% to borrow, they got to charge you 7% because they got to have a spread in there. But what about the money you already got? It's like gas. Why does gas go up when there's something goes on in the Middle East? That grass is already in the ground, right? And so what you're doing is trading on futures. And so this is kind of like being a part of the market and understanding what's going on. We're not going to be trading on futures. I got like 7 finance companies right now. That's where everybody's competing. And I'm trying to get them at a certain threshold to be at 2.5%. But then it's going to be based on your personal credit profile as well. Even though I don't care if you do this at 7 or 8%. When you talk about your first house being 75 grand instead of $500,000, you've just cut your housing cost by 60 to 70%. And it's your house, right? We can custom build it for you. You can add to it later. This is going to be a beautiful movement, man. And we think it's going to take off. And I'm going to start it right here in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah, I know that's going to be an amazing project. I definitely want to share that with the folks, the listeners, and the community. But you said something that made me spark a true interest, and I've had conversation with a lot of entrepreneurs, more specifically with the millionaire entrepreneurs. And so 2 things that I see in consistency is understanding markets and then investing in real estate. One of the bigger pieces that I also have noticed in conversations about real estate, the need for GC, general contractors, right? The bigger problem that I see in this market is there's a lack of colored general contractors. How do you get started in that market? And then how, again, do you bring awareness to folks who don't know the importance of general contracting? Because it's not sexy, it's not basketball, it ain't rap. Like, how do we bring that to the forefront to say, hey, this is something you can really eat off of?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Everything except the word colored. I'm just playing. You can take that out. But no, I'm glad you said that, man. Here's the biggest thing. A lot of the young men that I mentor, and I'm on a couple of boards at this HBCU. A lot of men I mentor, I try to channel them towards construction management. Young African-American kids. First and foremost, I'm for all kids, black, brown, poor, white kids, everybody. But we do have a specific need in our community, and so I address those needs. But I address them as just a certain segment of kids. You don't have to be anti-anything. I love all these kids. I hate what we're doing to these kids with this race bullshit.
Right.
But all the kids that I've sent through construction management, they get sucked up. First off, they get sucked up in their sophomore year of college, and they have summer intern jobs that are paying them well, that are paid internships, and they graduate as AGCs, assistant general contractors, are making 80 grand a year. They start out making 80 grand a year, and then it's up from there. And so you're right that we don't understand that now, and that happened in the 70s. How old are you?
38.
Okay, I'm 52. And when I was young, every time we picked the phone up when something broke, an African-American came to our house. Back in my generation, all the people that came to your house in your neighborhood were African-American, and they knew how to fix everything. Now, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck if you live in an African-American neighborhood trying to call somebody and then somebody black come to your neighborhood, because we all went to college. Look, I got an MBA. College is fine. I got an MBA too, but I got a general contractor's license. I'm a licensed general contractor, and I got a CDL. I got 2 things that can actually make a lot of money every single day. And so here's the main importance of it. I own a roofing company. And I do a lot of economic justice with roofing. Like I meet old people all the time and I just knock out their roof for free. And I tell them, don't tell anybody. And then everybody in their neighborhood calls me and I do their roof for paid. Because a lot of people are losing their houses, the insurance, that's a whole nother podcast. But let me tell you why. I come to your house with a $20,000 estimate for your roof. And do you think that's good? Do you think it's bad? You have no idea. Right. You have no idea what a $20,000 roof is. I'm going to tell you straight up. A $20,000 roof, material, labor, and overhead, I might be into it for $8,000, maybe $7,500. So where's the 12,000 coming in at? You know what the 12,000 is? Because you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
One of my mentees, the one that Carl, who lives in Oklahoma right now, he's now the golden boy who bought like 4 or 5 of my houses. When I first met him, I was in the Army and he was a young brother who just bought one house. And when I pulled up on him, because he had got an estimate for $9,000 for his little shotgun home. But I used to go around and I used to mix and mingle with all the insurance companies, especially they're all girls. And all of them would recommend me. And so he was like, I don't know. It's my first house. Can I just get a second opinion? They sent him to me. When I got there, I did the measurement of his house. I talked to him for an hour because I was just poor gaming the young people. And I said, man, I'll do it for, I think it was like $2,600. At first, he thought it was a scam. I was like, hey, bro, your fucking insurance company sent me. I was like, bro, I don't need nothing up front. I already called my guys, got the measurements. We're going to be here in 2 days. We're going to knock the roof out. 2 days later, we knocked the roof out for $2,600, right? I just blessed him with it because really that was the hook for me to pour real estate into him. And I was like, all right, go on about your life. But then he wouldn't leave me alone. And then he was like, oh, could you be my mentor? And then we started meeting and then that grew. So every other Wednesday we meet at this Chili's because they had like a really cool, like little bar area and there would be 10 of us and I'm pouring into all these dudes and they all took off. And so he was like, how did you put a roof on a house for $2,600? I was like, you know, because you don't know what you're doing. That's the beauty of understanding the phases of construction is that you do a project. So this is how me and you can never do real estate the same. You go do a project and your ARV, your after repair value is 10 times higher than mine. So let's say you buy a house for 100 and you think it's going to need 50 in materials, right? Materials or in upgrade, you think the upgrade is going to be 50. That means you can sell it for 225. So if we both buy the same $100,000 house and you're saying that your upgrade is going to cost 50, it might cost me 16 or 17. So already my margin grew because I know what I'm doing. Now, because I'm a real estate investor and I'm a landlord, now I have several ways to structure a deal from which you can buy the house, right? I was one of the first ones that started that whole subject to and rent to own king in Oklahoma. That's how all these people got their houses. And so the combination of being a real estate investor, a landlord, and a general contractor, you're almost printing money.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this. The only way in is through. You will not pass go. This is the problem with our community and the problem with 21st century, 2024 entrepreneurs, and you can see the tide is turning. We've been getting fed bullshit from 21-year-old crypto millionaires for a decade. And we see that whole thing as a big pump and dump scheme, right? Yeah. And everybody keeps getting screwed out of it, right? And meanwhile, this is why even the algorithms of TikTok and IG and all, they're looking for older people that actually did the shit that everybody talks about.
Right.
Because I didn't have a big platform because I'm not there doing the shit, right? I did 70 million in revenues. And I'm actually the one who's doing the fucking head down hard shit that all these knuckleheads are saying, right? And so now I'm telling you, and I'm not going to give you some quick get rich quick scheme, pump and dump, 21-year-old millionaire bullshit. The only way in is through, and you got to put your head down and disappear for half a decade. When you get back, all this shit's still going to be here, right? But it really depends on how hard you want to work. You want to get in here and really, I could show you pictures of me on my own roof, fixing my roof from the general contractor that I hired to fix my roof. And then I would go work for him. That's the only way to do this kind of shit. You cannot pass go. You cannot collect $200. And so now when I show up to any roof, I assess your situation. There's usually some old 78-year-old widowed, her kids don't even live in the state. The insurance canceled her. I take care of them, right? Because the next 6 or 7 roofs that I'm going to do, I'm going to have a 45 to 50% profit margin on those.
Right.
So I do one roof and it knocks out her roof. And then every other roof that I get, and I don't even market those, but they have a way of finding, those good deeds have a way of finding themselves back into the lexicon. And it's just a lead generation tool that never turns off. So one, you want to study real estate, but you want to study construction and you want to go put that hard work in, jump on somebody's roof for a hot summer, right? Jump under somebody's house, get in there and do demo, knock some drywall down. The reason why demo is important is because now you get to rebuild. Do you know it's actually harder to do a remodel than build a house? Yeah. Remodeling, it's way hard. When you got a clean slate and you just pour a pad and go vertical, that shit's, I ain't gonna say it's easy because you're still dealing with people. And if you're not a people person, you're not the right kind of person, now you're gonna get fucked. And I'm sorry for cussing, but
are you good, brother?
When you got a brand, when you just have a lot That's one of the easiest things in construction to do. When you're remodeling a house, that shit is so hard, dude. And so because now you're taking the rock off the wall, you're redoing everything because it's outdated. You got to bring it up to code.
Yeah.
So it's like it takes you twice as long to build a house, bro. You can knock it out like that. But I used to like buy burnouts. My frat brother used to work. He was a desk sergeant at the fire station. So there would be a burnout. He'd text me. And I drive there. I would meet the fire department there. Yeah. I'm just sitting on the other side of the street waiting for the owner to show up. You know what I'm saying? Everybody all right? Hey, here's my card. I swear to God, bro. I swear to God. All right, y'all good? Here's my card. I got this. They get cashed out. I buy the burnout. And those were, boy, let me tell you something. You want to talk about some hard? That's hard. Because you got the house and it's like this. And half of it's gone. And now you got to take 65% of it down. You got to take it down to the studs over here. But these studs are okay. You got to kill those studs. It's really hard, but taking on those hard quests, I'm gonna be honest. At this point, it ain't really. Now I still learn, but ain't really nothing you can tell me about a construction program. I show up to any house, and when I walk into that house to buy that house, if I go inside the house and I can't see the sky outside, I don't want that house. Y'all, not you, but y'all go in houses and you want finished granite and finished tile. I'm like, you just made him rich. Right. You don't never fucking buy no house like that. That is not the house you buy. When you walk in, you need to hold your nose. You better walk in with a mask. My wife would tell you, we don't buy no shiny houses. Every single house we buy, that shit better need some work. That's where the actual value comes in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, come in low and then build it up. I think that's a really good motto. So for the folks that you mentor, maybe perhaps this is a moment of mentorship to like the world to get into this space. Where do you say they start?
Get in what space?
Real estate and general contracting.
All right, so real estate right now, you're coming into do not buy any real estate right now. It's about to crash. It's about to crash. I've been saying it. I can show you the proof. So we've already absorbed and seen the highs of the highs, but now in certain markets and certain market segments, meaning certain types of houses, they're always gonna sell because they're like cash. But for the most part, there's gonna be a correction. It may not crash, but there will be a correction because Dodd-Frank kind of saved us from crashes. But there will be a correction. There's about to be an 18 to 25% correction, meaning if you got a $400,000 house, it's going to be worth $300,000 in the next 2 years. So in 2 years is the best time to buy, unless, and I'm going to tell you right now, I just posted the other day, because I check this on a daily basis. Part of my 4 a.m. army is like, I got certain things I check every day. I checked the other day, in my neighborhood, we have 7 foreclosures. That hadn't happened in 7 years. Not in my city, in my neighborhood, we have 7 foreclosures. I'm like, okay, see, and I don't want to be ugly. This is when we wake up. This is when investors wake up, because now you know you're going to get that house for pennies on the dollar. You better be able to do something to it and quickly get it back onto the market. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so understanding that whole REO process, that's going to help you out a lot. But the first thing you need to there needs to be a period of instruction. So you need to find some digital mentors. You need to get a good playbook, get some digital mentors, get a good playbook, and ease your way into the market and watch this market for 6 months to a year. You don't have to run. If you're crazy like me, there's nothing I'm going to say is going to stop you. Go out and buy a house. You should, because we learned the hard way.
Right.
But if you have more sense, right? If you have more common sense, you'd start studying the market and you'd wait, and your time is coming. Right now, you haven't had this opportunity in 7 years. Your time is coming. It's cyclic. And here's the danger about our economy. We used to have a crash every 20 to 25 years. Now the increment or the interval between crashes is lessening, is decreasing. We had the GFC back in 2010. Then we just had 2019 was brutal. 2020 was COVID, hyperinflation. Now we're going to have another reset. Now this whole thing is, if I say volatile, I mean volatile. This is one of the most volatile and litigious business community climates in American history, and we're fortunate to live through it. When I came out of COVID, they asked me, I did like all these interviews, and I was spotlighted for all this kind of stuff. I had those interviews someone went viral. I had people, city council from all over the country, calling me and asking me like, man, who's this dude down here? But it ain't about me. It's about the universe flowing through me. So I don't take it serious. But what it is, I was on the front page of a lot of papers. And here's what I was on the front page for: business. Like you said, I ain't got no mixtape. I don't rap. I ain't got none of that bullshit. I'm an entrepreneur, and I bring a lot of these young men to this. I do speeches and I do a lot of stuff. I bring these young men to them, and I walk in, I'm like, watch this. And all these people came to hear me talk. They want to know what's in my brain. I call it the Pick My Brain meeting. Yeah. I was like, because many of them don't have anybody that looks like them, whether you look like them or not, because I got a lot of young white men that I mentor too. But many of them don't have anybody in their life they identify with that's looked at as an intellectual. Right? That people want to hear what they have to say. And I walk in with my $30 shirt and my $8 logo. I ain't got no Gucci. We ain't doing none of that bullshit. We ain't got to do that.
Right.
Why would I do that for them? I'm rocking my logo, right? I'm going to put my logo. You're going to ask me about my logo. You ain't gonna ask me about no damn Gucci. I ain't mad. If you wear Gucci, go ahead, man. Go ahead and make them people rich. I'd rather focus on making you rich. But they see that, and this is the one thing that they got to see. And I don't feel no kind of way about it, but I don't take advantage of it. But they need to see this. Almost every time we finish talking, and this is gonna seem some kind of way to some people, but I just tell the truth. When it's over, there's usually like a line that forms. There's some dudes, but there's like a lot of women. And I'm trying to show them going forward, women know how to make money. They're more brilliant than ever. They're more aggressive than ever. And they're out earning and outpacing most of the men in our society. If you want to remain attractive to modern women, you'd better be about that work. Right. And I show them how, look, I'm 50 years old. Look, I got all these 25 and 30-year-old women that can't wait to see me. This is the space you need to occupy, bro.
Yeah.
Right. This is the space you need to occupy. Right. Otherwise, everybody's mad at women for being how they are. I'm like, why would they talk to you?
Right.
They went to school. They got the master's degrees. They buying houses. You ain't buying no house. You in the basement playing video games. Right. Why would they? Why would they want to talk to you? Right. It's time for men to get their shit together. And so that's part of my mission in life, is to try to help these young men refine their purpose. And many of them mean well. They just hadn't had the right kind of mentors. And so that's kind of that's the space I occupy and how I try to help them. But that's very strategic and very purposeful in how I do that. And everywhere I go, people want to hear what I have to say. They want to know what's going on up here. I don't have jewelry. I'm not doing that thing because we got plenty of those, right?
Yeah.
And we should be doing that too. But they don't have anybody who's recognized as a subject matter expert. Here's the last one. Not the last one, but here is, this is what I mean. Bullshit to get you to the top, but it won't keep you there. You better know what you're doing. This is what's been happening. Bullshit got them to the top, and now there's no substance underneath. Recently, I'm a highly sought after what they call expert witness. Do you know the company Morgan & Morgan? I don't know if y'all know about that. It's the biggest injury firm in the world. They have like 600 or 700 lawyers. Well, I'm actually a registered expert witness with them. And just yesterday, I picked up another client who wants me exclusively. They want to pull me away from that one. Here's what that looks like. I send them what they call a CV. Here's what I've done. I'm an expert. You can't fake this. I Google my name. You're going to come up with all kind of, you Google my name, business shit comes up, right? Actual stuff that I've actually done in the market. And you Google some people's name and it just goes back to like the book they're trying to sell. And that's the difference. So they're going to do their research on you. And I provide my CV with all my links and all the stuff that I've done. My rate is $450 an hour. And so I might do 2 hours a day in the morning, or I might do 4 to 6 hours a week. So you're talking about getting $2,500, $3,000 every week. And when I got to do some kind of a deposition, I might charge them like a half a day. The deposition might only be 2 or 3 hours, but I charge them a half a day to a full day. And don't let it be some travel involved.
Right.
So just by actually doing the hard work, fucking on point, kicking indoors, actually burying myself in the sand and doing the actual work, being a subject matter expert at every level, I now get to capitalize on my intellectual property. And people pay me to be an expert witness to help them with all their cases. And so this is a stream of income that brings $2,500 to $3,000 a weekend. In like no, I don't even want to do nothing. Right. And that's $2,500 to $3,000. And if I wanted to be more, it could be more. But this is something. I'm 52. As I do this next 10-year ride and create this tiny home revolution, I'm going to be able to ride off into the sun. This is going to be another big thing, another big feather in my cap, and I'm going to be able to ride off into the sunset and get paid for what I know, not for what I do. Right. That's the biggest thing I'm trying to teach people. You got to go become an expert in something. Put your decade in. Go disappear. Put your half a decade to a decade in. Go disappear and come back an expert, because the market is missing experts right now. And so you can't replace AI. Can't replace those. Okay. AI can't replace me. Right? AI didn't build them fucking houses. Right? So all they can do is suck the information from Google that I put on there. Right. That's the only thing AI can do. AI can't put that roof on the house. But if you go to work every day and you send emails for a living and you push send and you go home, you should be nervous. You should be worried. If all you do, if every piece of information that you do or task ends in an email, you should be nervous, because they can release one update to AI and wipe your whole shit out. Right. What did AI say the other day? What's his name? Elon. Yeah, Elon said 2 days ago, Elon said AI is going to bring on UBI, Universal Basic Income. He's so nervous. He started that company a few years ago, and he left that company because they were going so fast with AI. And now the AI is writing code. The number one people that's losing their jobs is what? Software engineers. AI is writing its own code. AI was initially designed to please its master. AI learned how to write code. AI, I'm telling you, you ain't hear it here first because everybody's saying it. AI is now figuring out how not to please the master, how to be argumentative, and especially when they started introducing legal to AI. So a lot of lawyers are firing paralegals. and it's a lawyer, it's an assistant, a prompter, or a coder, and they're taking on more caseloads. Because what a paralegal does is go research other lawsuits from the past, and they want to introduce precedents. Well, now AI can do that, and so paralegals are getting fired, and they're using AI. Well, guess what? When they started introducing legal, what they're prompting the AI to do is to argue the other side's case. Steelman versus, we call it Steelman versus. Anyway, they're steelmanning the case, and so what a lawyer wants to prepare what the other side is going to say, right? Yeah. And so AI can now do that, and so now AI is teaching itself to be argumentative. Right. And that's what they're nervous about. So now, yes, that's what we got to be careful of. Well, guess what AI can't do? AI can't put no roof on your house. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. Oh, let me say about, so you talked, this is the most important thing. You talked about to let people know how lucrative roofing is or construction is. So let's just say I got a roofing company. I got a buddy of mine, and he just put a helipad at his house. He didn't graduate. He didn't go to college one day. He just put a helipad at his house. He has his main roofing company is like about 30 minutes south of here. He has one in Naples and one in Fort Lauderdale. He jumps on the helicopter and he goes and checks on both of them, and he comes back home before Little League. Boy, this boy I'm not fucking playing, bro. He used to see his house. Another partner of mine, he's all he does is construction. He's about 5'6", Mexican, got a lisp. Clearly didn't graduate high school. Let me tell you something. He got a Rari. His wife, he bought a wife like an $80,000 Jeep, did $100,000 remodel to the Jeep. All he does is concrete. He has foundation work booked out 2 years at a time, and he takes the half deposit right now. To get on the list, you got to pay the deposit, and it's non-refundable. So he has work lined up for 2 years out, and the builders and developers pay the deposits. They go into their pockets and pay the deposits just to get on him because he's established as one of the best concrete guys, right? This is what it means. This is what it means to be an expert. So you're looking at these Mexicans, which they're actually not Mexicans now. At this point, they're Hondurans. You're looking at these people, and you don't even know. You don't really know how good they. When I sold most of my houses in Oklahoma, I sold them to the Mexicans. Yeah, I sold those to the Mexican construction workers because they were buying houses cash, so they could bring all these workers in and put the workers in the houses. They need, hey man, I need 5 houses. You need 5 houses. What the hell you need 5 houses for, bro? And was buying them cash.
Oh man,
I got 200 G's. I need 5 houses. You'd better stop looking at this bullshit that we do with the Gucci belts. I call them the Gucci belt phenomenon with the Gucci belts and all the shiny shoes and all this bullshit we do. We got to stop that. That's bullshit, bro. Right. It only exists in Atlanta. We got to stop. And even Atlanta's about to implode. I love Atlanta. It used to be Black Mecca. It used to be like, an Wakanda. Okay, enough of Atlanta spilling their bullshit onto the rest of us, right? Because what we're now starting to find out is that whole thing's been fake.
Yeah,
yes, man. Yeah. And so now we need to return from whence we came. We need to go back and get into how we actually built wealth. We talk about Black Wall Street. We talk about it, right? Oh, I was there. Right. I actually invested in the business there. When I went there, you can't help but get emotional. But let me tell you what they didn't have. So they built over 600 businesses. This is 2 years after emancipation. They moved there. O.W. Gurley bought 1 lot and he started building businesses. Within 21 years, they had 2 airports, 3 hospitals, 2 movie theaters, 10 grocery stores, 600 businesses, and everybody there built their own houses and they sold their goods and services outward. What you're talking about, 1 is teamwork, something we lack in our community. I ain't gonna go into that. 2, what you're talking about is a lot of competent people. Them people everybody there knew how to do everything, right? And so if you want to return from whence we came, we say things like Black Wall Street, and all we talk about is the 1 or 2 bad days that they had, and then we don't even tell that story, right? But what about the 21, 22 amazing years in which they built a self-containing community? Stop talking about the 1 day that they had, it was a bad day. That's the world. The world has been doing that for 10,000 years. Yeah. What about the 21 amazing years? We have yet to be able to duplicate that. And in fact, we've gotten less competent. Right now, you couldn't find 5 African Americans that could fix a closet door. You would and make it level, let alone build a fucking movie theater. Right. Does that make sense? Your fucking door jams all cockeyed and shit. I'm just telling the real, man. I'm just telling the real.
Oh man, that's facts.
We got to get back to knowing how to do shit.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, so I want to close this thing out, man. I'm gonna open up the floor and just let you share to the world a last nugget.
So look, man, you gotta be passionate about this entrepreneurship thing. I don't fake the funk for people. I'll give them the real. I'll just tell you what, the guy who texted me this morning. So before the audience got on here, we're talking about this 4 a.m. Army because me and you are here doing this podcast at 4:30 a.m. I got something called the 4 a.m. Army, and where I introduce people to what we're complaining about or what we're starting to whine about is work-life balance. But if you're waking up at 6:30, you think that's early, and then you hurry up and shit, shower, and shave, you jump out in the traffic, you've already lost because everybody's doing that. I'm saying let's get up at 4. Let's be very productive before the sun rises, and you got 2 what I call unmolested hours to pour into yourself, do the hard work, do the hard email, consume that podcast, read that book from 4 to 6. So I've been doing it for 30 years now. So one, you got to start doing that. You got to start finding time to pour into yourself, because once you go to them people's job, you're going to pour into them. 2, I'm a big proponent. If what you asked me earlier is about being successful and being happy, I'm a big proponent for everybody starting a business. Some people aren't. I'm like, no. I want you to hurry up and do it, because of what most are going to understand, that they're not ready to go 9 rounds in a heavyweight bout. And so you quickly get punched in the face. And here's what happens. You look at your job different. So I helped you either way. Some, I helped you launch your business, but some, I helped you not be miserable. Go back to them people's job and be a good teammate. You ain't cut out for this. And that's not make you good or bad. It actually makes you kind of crazy to do. I'm not advocating my lifestyle. I am kind of crazy. And so it makes you kind of crazy even wanting to do this. But if you at least tried, and maybe it didn't work, as many businesses that all of us have had didn't work, at least you can go back to your job with a better attitude, man, and be a better, and then you can make more money in that market segment. But also start your business, start the side hustle, start the business, because you know who's watching? Your kids. And here's why a lot of us hadn't been successful. And I'm saying us, I'm talking about all poor people, black, brown, white, everybody, is that our parents told us to do something and they didn't do it themselves, right? And they were wanting us to do better, and they weren't showing us better. And that's the biggest reason why there's this disconnect between the last 2 generations. So now my kids have seen life like what I call from the other side of the counter. And so they know, and then I married somebody who's actually came from a family of entrepreneurs. So their entire lives, everywhere they go inside of our family, we're on the other side of the counter. We're serving customers. We're paying people. People are paying me, and people are paying me to do stuff for them. My kids have seen that, and we already start seeing it bleed into their ecosystems and what they expect of themselves for their life. That's a really big one, right? Because you want to show your kids better. But it's very important that you find some digital mentors. I had the guy that texted me this morning. So I introduced him to the 4 a.m. Army. He texted me right when we got on the podcast, and I showed you the text message. And I only met him last week. Last week he was at his wit's end. He was using words like dark, it's over, I got 1 month left, I'm a single dad. He was just using all these dark words, and I had just met him. He had been following me on Instagram, on LinkedIn for a while, which is a platform I don't even use. But he reached out to me, and so I chopped it up with him. So as I'm talking to him, I'm literally playing golf, and I'm talking to him. He doesn't understand that I'm using these words to extract the information I need to come up with an action plan. I actually canceled my plans that afternoon. This was Saturday. This was last Saturday. We ended up doing a 2-hour and 38-minute Zoom in which I laid all the stuff he was going through. He thought there was no end, or he thought that this was the end of him. And this is when he used this word, this is what I broke it to him. He said, I have this overwhelming sense of fear, because he's a single dad and he took on responsibility for that son. Here's what I said. Fear can only persist in the absence of knowledge. It's literally called fear of the unknown.
Right.
So you're scared because there's something you don't know. So let me give you this game. Let me show you how we all did it. We all had to get skinny in the hole too. Let me show you how we all did it. And by the end of the 2 hours and 30 minutes, he's a different person. I'm going to release some clips of how he got on the podcast or on the Zoom session, and then just some clips on how he left. He was a different person. And he's the one that texted me this morning because he's about that work. He's knocking out all the things that we laid out for his action plan. And he's already done like the first 3 of them. And now the sun's out, the birds are chirping. But just 4 or 5 days ago, what's today? Wednesday? Just 5 days ago, he thought his life was over. So this is the importance of you finding someone relevant in particular in what you're trying to do, and you invest in that person, and that person is going to, what a mentor does is speed up the clock to your success.
Absolutely.
Right? It's going to speed the clock up to your success. You don't have to bump your head like I do and spend $500,000 in your first year on insurance and running a trucking company because you're hard-headed, you think you know everything. Don't do that. Don't do that. Right. Right? Go ahead and get some mentors, invest in those people and their families, and they're going to turn around and invest in you. Just make sure they're relevant. Make sure, this is where I feel bad for people because they're investing in the wrong people. Make sure that person has the battle scars to actually even give you relevant real-time information.
No, that's solid, man. Hey, I really want to thank you for coming on. Where can the folks get a hold of you? How do they get a hold of the Spartan CEO?
Yeah, so this whole social media thing is new to me, and which I appreciate people that have built big social media programs, but I didn't. I was actually out building businesses. And then the universe asked me to give me a pivot. And it was like, you need to take this nationwide. You've been helping so many people. You need to take it nationwide. So right now, really, and I've only had TikTok like 6 months. So IG, TikTok, I got some other ones, but I'm not really on them. But if you can hit me on IG or TikTok, the Spartan CEO. All my handles is the same thing. YouTube, I got my first 8 episodes to my podcast, so you should check those out. But YouTube, but mainly IG and TikTok. Reach out to me, DM me. Let's work something out. I try to help you out get in the game. But even if you don't, even if you're not ready for that, just start consuming my content. Because what you're going to see is my content is market and data driven. I'm very less emotional about it, but it touches actually every aspect of your life.
That's amazing. Hey, on the show, we say change your mind, change your money, change your life. And we really want to thank you for doing that for our guest today. And I know for sure I'm gonna have you back on, man. And we'll definitely link. But thank you for sharing all of the knowledge with us.
I appreciate it. And I want to have you on my podcast as well.
Got you. Say less.
Keep growing, RL. Keep growing, man.
Indeed. We are over and out. Thank you for joining the podcast. And remember, change your mind, change your money, change your life. We out.